But if you're not, they could be the best doctors in the world. And the other thing you appreciate more than ever is it's also all about the nurses. Like, that's one thing we lack. Nurses in New York are pretty bad. Which hospital did you go to tomorrow?
Okay, guys. This is very concerning. Right, this is what we need. This is what I want. I need you to talk to this person. Just do it.
No, I'm going to call and reset. He's going to do that next year. I'd love to do that.
Great battle.
Yeah, and he made the choice. Which apparently the basketball team. Nice job, buddy.
Well done.
Tomorrow. Yeah, I'm here tonight, but I have to there. Okay, sure. Right, are you staying overnight? What are you taking tomorrow? Me too. I'm on that train, so why don't we just do it then? All right, awesome. Okay.
Okay, great.
No, he needs a single. He needs a single. He can't. I mean, he's
Hi, everyone. We're going to get started in just a couple minutes, so if you guys want to start having a seat. No, you guys do the picture.
That must be. There's time. He's not graduating this year. Just started. It's true. It is true. It's so different. So different. They're totally.
We have a lot of time. That was great. We have a lot of time.
You meet I went to meetings 2 weeks ago.
No, that's it. Yeah, just the day that we're
Because it takes me.
I'm going to call you. I'll call you the next couple of weeks.
I'm there every month.
Next week, I'll come back. I'll call you back.
All right, they're also very good too. Particularly by Egyptians. Mostly by Egyptians. They don't get it. The Egyptians don't get it. When I was there, what's his name? Richard and Dean was there. We were having lunch with 2 newspaper editors, 3 newspaper editors.
Nordine? Do you know how to whistle? Whistling is not
ITC.
Arab.
Silicon Valley.
Oh, Silicon Valley? Where?
San Jose. San Jose? San Jose?
Oh, San Jose.
Hello, we're about to begin, please.
You know
Could
what I'm
everybody come in?
Not a lot. I know Mustafa.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Yeah.
thank you so much. Cookies will be passed.
Thanks.
Thank you. Vanessa, are we ready? Well, the last panel was the warm-up act for this panel. And yet it was a perfect segue. My name is Mark Ginsberg. I think my name was tossed around unfairly and inappropriately as if I deserved to be sitting up here with these gentlemen. But I would like to, first of all, before I introduce them, say a few words. Thank you for staying, first of all. I think that what all of us want to do here is to accomplish some specific acts from which we can walk out of here and say, action is on the way, help is on the way. I was the U.S. ambassador in Morocco, and at the time, I was determined to bring jobs to Morocco, and this is back in 1994. And we created a series of initiatives because we couldn't get Americans to come to Morocco. We organized initiatives to take Moroccans to the United States. And what we did is organize trade missions, reverse trade missions. No one had done that before. And I took a series, because of the embassy involvement, we took young Moroccans all around the United States to meet with counterparts, franchise leaders, corporations, banks, to get them to have contacts. And at the time, unlike any other state that I'm aware of, we were able to produce about, and I was told this by the government, over $400 million in new investment and business opportunities in Morocco as a result of these trade missions. It shows you something, that where there's a will, there's a way. And I am so proud to be associated with the extraordinary work that Tony Verstandig and her team, Vanessa, Aaron and others are involved with, Ari are involved with, because their dedication has been to see action and to see efforts achieve important goals and results. I've always believed in breaking down barriers between North African countries in order to produce bigger markets. Political reasons prevented that from happening in the past. I think now there's a greater opportunity now more than ever. The purpose of this panel is to talk about how to specifically achieve results in galvanizing the diaspora and finding ways by which these efforts can lead to best practices, and that best practices can lead to good concrete results. So first of all, all of you have seen the bios, so I'm going to ask each of them to say a couple of words about what it is they would like to see achieved at this panel. So I'm going to start first with Khalil, and then I'll move down the line. Of course, as I said to Nordine, Nordine, I'd like to have a whole separate session on your work for the Mars rover. And this man is responsible for getting, he's gotten a rocket onto Mars with that rover. And if he could do that, we certainly can bring jobs to North Africa.
Which one is difficult?
So, Khalil, why don't you start?
Thank you, Mark. It's exciting to be here. I want to thank the Aspen Institute and PNB NAPEO for giving us that opportunity. I think these type of events are crucial for the community, crucial for binationals and the connection between our American country and our original country. We have a lot of youth who are unemployed in our home countries. We all care deeply about our countries, and we want to help. So the question is, how do we help? What's the most effective way to do that? There are a lot of, when you talk about helping, there's the one-time action that leads to a momentary result, and there is the long-term action that's going to lead to a sustainable result. And so we have some tough choices to make. A lot of you here are already making those choices and working hard to see the result and the impact. So I hope that today we can talk about that and share some best practices around that.
Thank you. Sami?
Thanks for the U.S. Department of State and the Aspen Institute for having this opportunity to especially connect with a lot of people, and some of them I know, some I just have to know right now. So what I really am looking for this kind of events is learning from others and their experiences, and also we are after the same thing, which is how we can use the experience of our diaspora here in the U.S. and help the young people over there who are not very different from any young people all over the world. They all, a lot of people are, when they're born, they're kind of the same, and then they are shaped by culture, by education. Some of them actually will be, because of that, some of you will be more, will have more opportunities, will be actually culturally having the advantage of achieving their dreams, and some culture don't allow that. And what we want to do actually is, as a diaspora, is to actually bring some of this culture, inject it in over there, so that we create this entrepreneurship tissue and create this foundation of any economy, which is small businesses that grow and actually create economic development and prosperity and stability into that region.
Sami, I want to ask you, because we're going to have a freewheeling conversation here. All of us who've worked in North Africa have this the paradox of saying the word North Africa, but then there are representatives from 4 countries here. And the question that I've always been wrestling with is, would a Tunisian and a Moroccan go into business with each other? And would they do a cross-border venture in order to establish a market in both Tunisia and in Morocco?
They do. We almost did, actually, with Greece. But I think there is a lot of history here, right? There is a lot of, there was not, the environment was not very encouraging for this kind of approaches. But on the, when you look at the people over there, when you talk to them, they are not, I mean, they are the same culture, even same food, same music, the same, even jokes sometimes, and just the accent is different.
Oh, I heard a better Tunisian joke than a Moroccan joke.
It has to be Algerian. So I think it's possible, and then I think right now there is more opportunities there to unite. Again, it's a global economy, and going at it one local market at a time is not going to work. I mean, it's going to give you some success story here and there, but it's a global market. You have to act as if it's a global market, because so you need to unite and attack it together.
Nordine, we heard from you a little earlier, so I want to ask you a specific question. Mm-hmm. To what extent are you familiar enough with all of the initiatives that the U.S. government has to facilitate your goals and objectives? I mean, is there, if I told you that there was this program or that program, do you have something in front of you in writing that says, you know what, for this particular program, I can call this person? Or are you sort of starting from a point where you need NAPEO and its staff to help provide that?
I am at the point where we need NAPEO to provide that information, because if you ask me today about what programs are out there, and if you're going to give me a grade, I'll probably get an F. So no, I do not know much, and I think it's not just me. I think it's the people that we work with, and but there are 2 issues associated with that. We can always say that information is not coming out from the other people. That maybe the case may not be, because I don't really know. But what I do know is that being an organization that's trying to work, and this might be true for my brothers and sisters from other countries, being an organization that's trying to work and get to a point where we're trying to help Algeria, or trying to create these interactions, you need some energy to do that. Now, every single person who is on the board or who is connected to what we're trying to do has a job or two. And so as a result, we are all extremely busy. So we haven't reached a point in our life, of this diaspora, where we have an organization that's a full-time organization that has resources, actually could do the search that will get to the answers that you just mentioned. So it might be, it may not be that NAPO and so forth are not communicating with us, but even if they were, we're not ready to receive that communication in a point, in very, very efficiently. Yes, we will receive it and do things, as volunteers do, but I think to be able to do it professionally, and we need to reach that stage, and we haven't reached that stage yet.
So in other words, to galvanize the respective diasporas,
yes,
it's important to have the administrative support necessary so that you can be the entrepreneurial outreach director to the diaspora.
Yes, so it really all depends on what you want to do. So once you set a goal, and you have objectives into that goal, and you want to do a few things, which are, in our case, they are big challenges. As I said earlier on, for those of you who were here, trying to actually to change a culture so that the youth themselves will try to do things by themselves, so that they create better futures for themselves, whatever future they want. But to do that, it means that you need professionals, and you need people who are full-time, and we need to get to that point. We're not at that point yet, but we need to get to that point sooner or later. The sooner the better, clearly.
Thank you. Tamim, just to wrap this up, going down the line, and then we'll bounce around a bit. I've had the privilege of knowing Tamim, who serves on the advisory board in Appio. If there ever has been a person that has been truly dedicated to getting his country through its travails and challenges, and to help educate the youth of that country, he is Mr. Libya, if there ever was one. And so
Thank you.
You deserve the moniker.
Thank you.
So Tamim, let me ask you this. You've been in Libya, you've just come back. Clearly, we all know that Libya is very wealthy, unlike many of the other North African countries, in natural resource. The question ultimately is what are the youth of that country looking for insofar as support from their American brethren?
Good question. Let me begin by echoing what Khalid had mentioned and thanking the Aspen Institute of putting this panel together, and all of you for sticking around to hear our stories. But I also want to share a common thread that ties these four countries together that most people don't really know, besides the fact that we live one next to the other as countries. But these four countries are tied and united through the couscous dish and the green tea. So you can't find that anywhere else in the world but in these four countries. So no matter what we do, we'll always be together. Going back to your question, Mark, and Libya sits in a precarious situation today. There's a lot for Libya, and for me particularly, to learn from the great efforts that have been taking place in Algeria, Tunisia, and Morocco on the entrepreneurship front. But Libya today is in desperate need of a little bit of hand-holding through the process. The Libyans in general have, as everyone knows, been living in under a dictatorship for 42 years that destroyed the concept of institutions. Unlike the revolutions that have taken place in Tunisia and Egypt, those countries, they have their own set of problems, but they still do have a set of institutions that are on the ground that are at least semi-operational. Libya is completely, the running joke in Libya is we're not rebuilding, we're building. So it's a process that Libyans need to figure out, And in doing so, they're in desperate need of all the help from the international community, and particularly the U.S., to guide them through the process.
You know, one of the things that, thank you, Tamir, one of the things that I want to ask each of the panelists to just weigh in on is that we tend to get too caught up in the high-level entrepreneurial opportunities that generate so much interest in magazines, you know, software and technology. But the one thing I found out is that entrepreneurial initiative can mean everything from setting up a appliance repair shop to setting up a new plumbing operation. When you think about this country, you can think about how many people have made so much money setting up a trucking business, setting up a moving business. And I wanted to know, how much can we convince young people in your countries that the world of business is far greater within their grasp than they realize, and it doesn't require the opportunity or need to set up a technology business? I mean, what is it going to take? Because this country here, the middle class, so many people started businesses, selling clothes, running businesses, buying one truck and then 3 and 4 and 5. Do they understand? Do they need access to that information, those best practices here?
Actually, I can answer that. I think I mean, in North Africa, this kind of business has been there for thousands of years. So this is not something that they need to learn. I mean, Tunisians and Algerians and Moroccans have been doing trading and this kind of. So this is not a revolution for them. This is just access to credit or microcredit to start something. But and of course, small businesses is the foundation of any development. But what we need is actually the other markets that are out there, whether local or regional or global, where the opportunity is to grow very fast and to.
So what sort of in Tunisia? What can the diaspora bring that would be different in terms of, other than funding? What is it, the inspirational ideas that they need?
So the diaspora can do a lot of things, especially on pushing and the impact on the regulation, for example, on educating the different lawmakers over there about the opportunities that they have by changing or putting the right legal framework for some. There are some different. I can go actually field by field. I mean, building data center infrastructure in Tunisia, or in any region, by the way. There is a lot of markets today that are not tapped. All the big data, all the new actually open data, all these governance tools that people need. All these are software that can be built anywhere in the world, but it's being built right now. So all these are if any government actually takes this opportunity and push towards creating the right legal framework and the right actually tools to have Tunisians invest in this and work on this, it will help. So
well, that's interesting you say that, Samir, because I remember saying to my colleagues in Morocco at the time that your competition is not Saudi Arabia or Egypt or even Algeria. Your competition is South Korea and Chile.
Yeah.
Okay, and that ultimately had a lot to do with how they began reforming their bureaucracies.
And we have the opportunity today because this technology, they don't need heavy industry, they don't need big money.
So what does the diaspora do to help that happen?
We need to actually reach out. We need to organize. We need to be structured and organized and actually impactful and actually reach out to as many as we can over there, whether it's at the government or at the youth themselves.
And I'm going to ask everyone to. Okay, you hit a nail on the head here, as we say. You need to be able to identify and reach, okay? I said when we were meeting earlier, ladies and gentlemen, that we needed was the Obama team's capacity to identify individuals down to the single local neighborhood to help identify the diasporas. One of the ideas that we had here was to find a way of reaching out, identifying those diasporas, and setting up an online newspaper, to communicate with them about all of these ideas and initiatives, so that they can begin reading in and seeing and getting involved. This is not as hard as it sounds, but it's important to find a way of identifying those people. How well, Tamim, do you know the community that you would need that help or not need that help?
Well, I certainly don't, and I think there's quite a bit of work that can be and should be done on that front to have a more elaborate network that will be accessible whenever there's, and I shared with you earlier, thanks to the Aspen folks, and I thank Mason for that. USAID was in touch with me on 2 separate fronts that about a new grant program, and I believe this is the first time that at least I'm aware of a grant program that they're making available to the Libyan diaspora to support Libya initiatives. There was no way for me to know that if I did not know Mason or Mason didn't know me and we didn't connect through that opportunity. So certainly a vehicle of some sort would go far in being able to connect both the beneficiary and the benefitor or benefactor to connect the programs.
So do I hear you correctly? It's still reaching your constituency to know who that constituency is so that you can educate them.
Correct.
Okay, and once you can educate them, you can tell them about the programs.
Correct.
Okay, so the most important thing we need to do is to make sure that each of you have the support that you need to find out what's the multi-generational constituency in the United States for each of your diaspora members, correct? Or not?
Correct.
Did that? Okay.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, go ahead, Nordine.
2 things. First, I want to echo what's been said here about, what do we take as diaspora to our countries, and I agree. I mean, the local merchants, local craftsmen and craftswomen and so forth, I think they know. They've been doing this business for a long time. What they do not know is that the world is changing, and that today, and I've just met an Algerian guy, I think he's at the back, where he's trying to do a business in Algeria with payment by internet and so forth. So that all of a sudden, the world is open to them. That they do not know. The second thing is that why I think technology is going to play a key role, and maybe I'm because I'm biased, I'm a scientist, but it is because the world is changing. I mean, we know even in the U.S. the manufacturing jobs went to China and Singapore and Malaysia. So there's a reason they went there, because the labor was cheaper. So we don't want our countries to become a place where it's the cheapest labor and remain that way. And what we do want, again, is to prepare the next generation to know that there's advanced manufacturing. They can get into it, just like the U.S. will get those jobs back through these new technologies. That's number one. In terms of connecting with the diaspora here for the Algerian group, we have decided this is actually a very, very important point, is to know, as I said earlier on, to know who we are and where are we, everywhere in the world. So we have actually, we don't, it'll be good if the Obama administration or Aspen Institute gave us certain names. But I think we are in a better position to do that and probably more efficient to do that. So we have people already who in the US, for instance, are building this database. And the database is built gradually. And there are people that I didn't even know existed in the United States, in places that I've never heard of in the Midwest. But they are now on that list. And now we're connecting. So then through again technology we can connect. So that's just on the US front. And as I said earlier on, also globally we're trying to do that as well. I think it's for the diasporas themselves to do that, because I think they're better equipped to know who is where and what they do, rather than through a government program, whether be it from our countries or the US.
We all talked about the importance of mentoring. Finding mentors is easier said than done. But there are mentors of the North African community in this country who have been success stories. There are 4 of them right here. But obviously, you're busy and you can't spend all the time. The key reason for identifying these diasporas is to find people who will inspire and serve as mentors. So getting these people to be willing to donate some time is obviously the next step. Obviously, in order to do that, you have to inspire them to have a role in the future of their former country. Is that going to be, how much of a challenge is that going to be?
I think when I look at the Moroccan community, I see a lot of efforts in different states by individuals and organizations to be impactful. Those efforts remain one-time shots in one area, but they're multiplied by the number of organizations. Where we are now is in a position where we need to see a structure to coordinate those to be more impactful altogether as one group. when you look at entrepreneurship and mentoring, the success of a mentoring relationship relies on the right match between the mentor and the mentee. And that is not something that a volunteer, that an alpha volunteer can know. So there is a knowledge that needs to be shared on how do you do that. There are specific tools that are used by large American nonprofits that could be shared. So I think there are a lot of tools out there that can make the goodwill of all these binational volunteers have even more impact.
I mean, one of the things that I think Aspen wants to do is to connect your collective efforts, because you are now a committee here. And we're going to, and I'm sure Aspen would like to see you get the support that you need, but you also need to connect with the local boards in each of your respective countries that they've done such a good job setting up so that these diaspora connections can occur. I mean, this is where the glue is supposed to occur. So obviously, that's one of the things that we hope to achieve out of this. I'm sorry, Tamim, did you have?
No, I was just going to say that I think you're quite right that self-initiative has to be the driver behind this reaching out and trying to reach these objectives. And that can be done in so many different ways. And I just want to illustrate an example of a situation that we ran into in Libya and our creative way of solving the problem. I oversee an education and training enterprise in Libya. And the idea behind it was to do a bridge of knowledge transfer from the U.S., whereby we partner with U.S. institutions, universities, and we take these programs into Libya and conduct in-country training for the various sectors. And the first sector we worked with, the most obvious, the oil and gas sector. So, needless to say, because of the political situation, travel for U.S. Citizens to Libya right now is not looked upon as a favorable thing to do. So we had stopped our programs, yet we didn't really want to do that. So our way of addressing that was to reach out to Libyan professors, Libyan experts who are teaching at different universities, and we actually got them to come and teach these in-country courses in Libya. So in that way we continued our program, but in another way we found it to be very beneficial, whereby we were literally showcasing a diaspora member who became successful in their profession and a world institution, whether it be in the US, Europe, or elsewhere. And that really played very well to the locals in terms of being able to look up to some success stories for the diaspora that have been able to come back and help in some ways. So that was our way of dealing with that type of situation.
Well, clearly the best practices of organizing diasporas, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. There's lots of communities that, we mentioned the Irish community, the Jewish community in this country, the Israel. Alidad, who I was talking to earlier, is actually a professional involved in organizing the Turkish American and the Iranian American communities in terms of his job. And I'm wondering, if you don't mind me calling on you, just asking you, I mean, Abi, you must know what is the secret sauce here. What is the secret sauce?
I'm still working on it. Haven't come up with it yet. But basically, America's relationship with that part of the world is obviously a very complex one. And these communities are in many ways caught in between, of course. It's different being an Arab American or an Iranian American, or even in a different way a Turkish American than it is being, say, from Argentina or from Poland or from Italy or Ireland, because America's relationship with these countries, is different somewhat for a variety of historical reasons. And especially the post 9/11 decade was very significant to the way these communities see themselves. And so the biggest challenge is to give these people the confidence, members of the diaspora, the confidence that it's okay to be Libyan and American and Libyan, American and Iraqi or Iranian or Turkish or what have you, because this is the century of diaspora communities in many ways, the 21st century. And this notion of the melting pot where people are supposed to forget their past is no longer salient the way it once was, say in the early 20th century, you know, people coming through Ellis Island. It's now a time when multiple identities are often a source of strength. And I feel the challenge often is that these communities don't see that yet, because we come from countries where having a political opinion could land you in jail or worse, where you can't directly state what you want. You always have to be indirect. I'm talking about the Iranian and Turkish cultures with which I'm the most familiar. But the point is, there are some cultural issues that have to be addressed. And that's why when Mark and I were speaking outside, this issue of, as you correctly pointed out, Mark, the issue of leadership and exemplary cases and mentorship came up. And the fact that once you can identify the exemplary cases and make sure that these communities know about them, like a physicist who is doing this great work, globally, then I think that those kinds of concerns, the paranoia, if you like, a lot of the fear is going to dissipate, and then you're going to start unleashing the real power of these communities, which are in the U.S. uniquely, in my opinion, in a very special position because of how far they've advanced, because of the openness of this society. Unlike many European societies that are advanced but not open the way the U.S. is. I mean, this is, in my opinion, a very uniquely American thing. And that's why, as you pointed out correctly, Mark, the issue of finding the exemplars, the outstanding cases, and making sure that they really inspire students in universities, students in schools, and elsewhere, community colleges, I think that is of critical importance.
Thank you, Ali Dad, and then we'll take some questions. One thing that I come from is the media side of the Middle East. There's nothing to me that would be more important than going viral with best practices and best examples that you could then have on a YouTube channel that is easily creatable. I mean, Aspen, we can help Aspen create a YouTube channel that is dedicated strictly to best practices of entrepreneurial experiences. Have these people, in fact, the less that it looks professional and the more amateur it is in film, the more successful it will be. And having from each of you identifying 2 or 3 case studies that we could then go and film, and then we could post these and have the local boards send people information on about this as an idea, because inspirational viral media, social media utilization is so less complex than anyone may think it is. It just takes a small video camera and post it to YouTube, and we create the channel, and the next thing we know, we have the story of Tamim, the story of Noordin and Sami and Khalil up there, and they can talk and people can see this, and Tony and Vanessa can then add a lot to what Aspen can offer them. That's something that I'd love to see happen. Anyhow,
Mike, if I may,
Yeah.
something about mentoring. I think we talked a lot about mentoring, and then when Vanessa actually emailed me, I did spend some time thinking about it. So I come up with a chart which I think, what is mentoring? Why is it important, and how best to go about it? Everybody says, I can be a mentor, somebody can be a mentor, but I think it starts with, and I'm going to read from what I thought because I took some notes, is that it starts from the fact that we need to have the mentor and the mentee or mentees need to have a common goal or goals. So that's number one. We need to understand what the goal is. If you don't have the same goal, you're going to sooner or later diverge, and as you diverge, things collapse. That's number one. So the common goal or common purpose. Second thing, clear roles for the mentor and for the mentees. Very, very clear roles. What each of the two this relationship, what each of the person is bringing to the table, and how do they do it, and when, and timelines, and so forth. The third thing is accepted leadership, which is not always easy in our countries. So if he shows up in Tunisia or in Libya and says, this is what I know, and this is how it works, well, they're going to come up with sometimes with stories why it wouldn't work in Algeria or Tunisia or Libya and so forth. So clear leadership, accepted leaderships from both sides, from that what you're bringing to the table is worth it because of the goal we just agreed on. The other thing is processes that are effective. Because if we each of us start to mentor, and then all of a sudden, and I'm busy, and he's busy, and everybody's busy, we don't respond to the needs of what we said initially, we actually do more damage than good in the long run. Because then, we've tried that, and thank you so much, you really want to do that, but it's just for fluff and for press and whatever, and as a result, I think it's a big damage. And it's actually more damaging to the people also who are receiving this mentorship program. Then you need to build strong relationships, and these strong relationships mean that there's this accepted, not only leadership, but this accepted relationship, there's trust in the relationship, and that is needed. All of this needs time, and then once you have that, you need excellent communications, and then you need to maybe refine the goal as you circled through this mentoring. That is what mentoring is, and it's not as easy as just going once or twice and meeting with somebody and say, you've got to do this, and this, and goodbye, and good luck to you.
Interesting enough, first of all, I don't think there's anyone in this room that would disagree with what you just said. Interesting enough, when we brought the young Moroccans on this trade mission back, I was able to kick through USAID a new program by which they hired as consultants former executives of U.S. companies to come to Morocco and serve for 2 weeks as mentors, and then establish relationships with these people. And then they went back, and they were always there to call on them after they helped them get their ideas off the ground. And there's so many former executives in the United States who were part of that program that I'm sure that if we dug a little, we may be able to find some of this as an opportunity as well. So anyhow,
I want to follow up on the same thing. Yeah, I don't disagree, but I have a different perspective. Good. I think this will be good and I'm participating in a mentorship program in my own company. I'm mentoring some managers. This will work very well there. But there are other things. I think if I look at Tunisia, for example, it takes sometimes less than that. Mentoring there, sometimes actually, I was there, I was talking about some things or about a little bit of what I did, and people the impact was there. You can see the people, their eyes open, and they start actually, they don't even think that, how do you get there? Sometimes I talk about like, you should do that. And it's like, people think differently, and that's what I say, there is a cultural shock that need to happen, a revolution that need to happen. People don't think, when they see a problem, they don't think that's an opportunity. They complain about it. It's not the same here. Here, someone actually see a problem and say, wow, it's an opportunity, I can do something in there. That we need to start there. That's the mentorship starts actually at the cultural things. Actually, again, I mean, we are born with a lot of, we are receptive to anything, but we get shut up during actually, because of our culture also. We stop thinking at some point. We stop being creative. So we need to go back, we start there. And then we have people like, for example, my friend from Taipei who are struggling to get something structured and organized. Yes, I mean, to be open and direct, there is a lot of will to help. We're not getting there. We're not getting, actually, I don't know, we're getting the help, but we're not be able to do something that is scalable, repeatable, predictable. We are still struggling of how we can scale like 2 or 3 projects or 4 projects. And this is on our time, on their own time, and they're traveling on their own expenses and doing things on their own will. And yes, this will be heroic, and we know heroic won't work. I mean, it doesn't scale.
Well, I don't think, again, Sami, I think you're absolutely, I mean, every place is different, and every group of people you meet have a different series of challenges. We just finished producing a television show, which we hope to unveil with Aspen, called Generation Entrepreneur. It is the first intra-Arab televised competition of young entrepreneurs that has ever been converted into a television series. And it's basically, every country has fielded these teams. We have a team right now over in Yemen filming 4 young women who came from a village who used solar panels to bring electricity to their village for the first time. And we're doing a documentary on that. Now, it's mind-boggling to think that they were the ones who won the competition. It was 4 women who did it on their own. Now, there's something inspirational about that. People can say, well, how are you ever going to bring electricity? Well, they got a solar panel system in place to bring electricity. These are the types of inspirational ideas that get to that. I'm looking forward to unveiling that show here as part of the way in which media can be used to inspire young people in the region. Anyhow, I've talked enough. Questions from the audience or comments? Yes.
Hi, I'm Ahmed Amr from Mercy Corps. We're doing something non-traditional in Mercy Corps in Egypt. So we're developing Egypt's entrepreneurship ecosystem, and we're trying to build a pipeline of companies by which we invest seed capital in them, and then we make them VC investment ready. Going to what you guys are doing in Morocco, Libya, Tunisia, Iran, and I've forgotten the rest of them. How has IDEA been helpful, the International Diaspora Engagement Alliance, towards you guys? Is this, Mike, you mentioned that you're looking for something that's government sponsored. I somewhat agree with Noureddin about the fact that it's best that the diaspora do it themselves. However, has IDEA been any helpful in any way, or is it too premature to say that?
Well, I think at this point, the best way to answer that is this is the first time these gentlemen have all gotten together to talk about what to do to find best practices and what resources do they need, whether private or public, to make sure that when they walk out of here, there's a mechanism in place whereby, one, they can better organize their initiatives, and two, whether or not there happens to be any U.S. government program that was put in place that would provide them the administrative and project support they need. But I think each one of them are saying, if I hear clearly, this is going to take persistence and perseverance and a commitment on the part of people in the private sector in their local communities who will be empowered. Whether you're in Chicago or in Kansas City or Los Angeles, there are going to be people who are going to have to be deputized. And believe me, the U.S. government is not going to be in a position to do that. Next question? Yes? Why don't you just speak up because we can't hear you.
Kennedy Consulting International. So I have two questions and one comment. I work on government relations and information technology, and I wanted to hear you expand on the data centers and specifically where are the opportunities in big data and IT in the Maghreb region, and also that you should consider the Maghreb region as a real opportunity area to feed the Gulf in Arabic IT, which is something that's not been accessed yet. And my other question was for the gentleman from Libya. Where are the opportunities and how to break in aside from, I mean, I know the embassy is not the place to go, so where?
So let me answer the question about the data centers. Actually, the Maghreb happens to be south of Europe and northwest of the Middle East, kind of. At the same time, we have the companies like big companies like Microsoft, Google, Facebook. They have very big need of data centers. They are building data centers. There is a lot of compute and network that need to happen so that the experience of the European and the Middle Eastern browser experience should be actually fast enough. And they're going to Ireland, they're going to France, they're going to England to actually build data center. And the cost of these data centers there is 100 times more than the cost in North Africa, for example. So if all what it takes is for the government, or even actually someone thinks, you know what, I'm going to go build it in there, and I'm going to pay for the infrastructure. It will cost them less than actually building a whole new data center in the US or in Europe. Just by building a whole network infrastructure in a country like Tunisia will cost less than building a new data center here in the US. We're talking hundreds of millions of dollars. So that's one. So there is a need of new data centers. Of big data need to be processed. People are going and browsing and entering data that needs to be stored somewhere. More people are on the internet, whether from mobile or from computer, and all these need to be served and processed. So, and this will be a problem in 5-6 years from now when the companies here will say, you know what, it's not going to work here. I need to go somewhere else and build them.
You can leverage the sun of the Sahara.
So there is the sun, there is the region that are actually not, today one of the problems in Tunisia is that there is a big disadvantage in some region where there is no industry actually. If you go there and actually give the land for one big company to start and tell them actually you build the network and you operate it for 90 years, other company will see, wow, that's a good thing. I will go there too, and they will start. Actually, it will be a new industry that's being created, which is data hosting in the Middle East or in the North Africa. So this is one idea. By the way, there is tens of things like this today. Actually, in the big data, mobile, OpenGov, all these technology are just on the paper. There is no system today that will that is building a framework of open data processing or of governance, like software governance for government. There is no such thing, and there is no best countries to do this than actually something like a country like Tunisia or Egypt coming out of a revolution to start shortcut, not follow, but go right, do a shortcut and start from on a green field like this. So if you think about it, the opportunities are there. It's like the ideas actually can be just you say something like this and there, and then people will get it. But then going through all the process of where do I start? How do I do these things? How can I? Because the problem with mentorship is very important because people think it's technology always. It's not technology. It's the people first, and then it's the both technology and the business. You can be actually the greatest technical guy of the world, but you will be stuck on what you're seeing there, and you're not looking at the market, at how you're gonna sell this idea, why you're doing it, and how it's gonna be helping. So there is actually business and technology. Hand in hand, they need to work together. And all these people don't. Sometimes you find the business guy who don't know anything but the technical, but is there for the business because he thinks that he can be rich by doing this. And you have the technical guy who thinks this is, geek who thinks this is the next revolution of the technology. And nobody's telling them, hey, by the way, you need both. Yes, there are some genius people like Bill Gates or 2 or 3 people in the world who can have both skills. But generally, you have one or the other, and you need to be mentored on the other side.
We have time. I'm sorry.
I wanted to quickly
yes.
add, echo what Tim was saying, but from a different angle. I'm in supply chain management, industrial management, and I've been to 5 continents doing supply chain strategy projects and implementing new policies. Nuruddin earlier mentioned the labor costs, right? It's no longer the issue, right? China is much more expensive than Ecuador, for instance, and yet Ecuador is not competing. Why? Because Shenzhen has been, over time, became such a cluster for high-tech, primarily. If you can think of any product, you go there. And I think that's one of the things probably we need to encourage the government, because this should be a public-private partnership. Tunisia in particular, this is a self-serving statement, obviously, can be such, and the Maghreb in general, can be such a center for what's called in supply chain management, postponement theory or delayed differentiation. So life cycles for many products are shortening. There is tremendous potential to develop the industrial base in North Africa. Unfortunately, I meet with executives from leading companies, Global 1000, etc. Nobody really is aware of any quantitative analysis, benchmarks, etc. There is big data, but it's fragmented. And I think we need the sponsorship, for instance, the Aspen Institute, governmental agencies, etc., to create a big splash, right? It's almost like North Africa back in business or something, right? That will get tremendous exposure and really introduce the potential of this region to serve not only Southern Europe, Eastern Europe, the Middle East, Africa is coming up, hopefully Sub-Saharan Africa. There is tremendous potential in addition to IT for North Africa to become a major industrial base.
Well, I from your lips to God's ears, as we say. Okay. And last question. Anyone? Yes. I saw that hand go by in the back.
Thanks very much. Larry Sperling from the State Department's Global Partnership Initiative. And I wanted to partially respond to the gentleman's question about the International Diaspora Engagement Alliance. I think there's actually an opportunity coming up to see how it can be helpful because the annual signature event of IDEA is the Global Diaspora Forum, and that's coming up May 13th to 14th. And this year, what it is doing is linking up diaspora communities across the United States in Washington, Los Angeles, Silicon Valley, as well as Dublin, Ireland. That's going to happen on the 14th. And then on the 13th, various organizations, diaspora organizations around Washington will be hosting diaspora events. And I think, and I had a chance to talk with Mohammed from the last panel, between the panels. I think one of the greatest ways that the IDEA platform can be helpful, it would not purport to organize diaspora communities, but rather to link folks together and provide a platform for sharing best practices and give an opportunity for various diaspora groups to learn from each other. So Mohammed mentioned to me learning from experiences of the Chilean diaspora, for example. And this year in particular, the GDF, Global Diaspora Forum, will be putting a focus on youth and inspiring youth to connect to their countries of heritage.
So just a second. You haven't answered the most important question. Which of the diasporas from here are going to be targeted as well? I mean, I don't care about the Irish or whatever.
We are welcoming all of the diaspora communities to either participate in the main conference day and or to host an event on the 13th to actually host a diaspora community event on their own and connect to the broader effort.
Well, thank you.
And if you want more information, I can tell you how to.
Good. So that means we're all included. Thank you. I'm sure that Secretary Kerry would like to know that the Global Partnership Initiatives is reaching out to the diaspora in North Africa.
Yeah, if I can add one word about this Global Diaspora Forum, I had the privilege to attend it last year and the year before. And I think, the resources that were provided during the event as well as the panels were very inspiring. At the end of the day, frankly, as a diaspora, we don't have to recreate the wheel. We have to inspire ourselves from how others have structured themselves. And, the Chilean diaspora was a very remarkable example because it was the size of Tunisia and was the same problems that Tunisia had. But a number of other diaspora, the Singaporean diaspora, how they created this portal called One Singapore Network that essentially connected all their diaspora here, and enabled them to build essentially a virtual platform to mentor mentees from a distance. So those are the kinds of things that you learn from the Global Diaspora Forum.
What you just said about the portal for Singapore, and if that's successful, that's the type of example of what we could use here. So that would be something that I would be very interested in looking at with Vanessa and Tony as well. So let me wrap up and first of all express to this wonderful panel here, as we said in the movie Casablanca, this is the beginning of a beautiful friendship. Number one. Number two, it is quite clear that these individuals are dedicating a lot of their time and effort to empowering and inspiring a diaspora to support the entrepreneurial initiatives in their home countries. But they need administrative support to make that happen. They may need more than administrative, they need as well as what we call media savvy technology to help them bring the best practices to their communities. Obviously, Aspen is doing an incredibly great job to provide that inspirational support, and we look forward to having that continue. And finally, to this wonderful audience of people who participate in the panel and who provided us some of this new information, on behalf of all of us, thank you for being here and providing so much of the help that we need as well. So, Tony, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thank you very much. As always, you did an extraordinary job on moderating this panel and inspired. As you saw me, I was taking notes. So first of all, let me thank the panelists. Let me thank everyone for attending. But more importantly, I want to talk about the follow-up that flows from here. So a couple of action items for you. Mark said, Aspen will continue in the context of our Partnership for New Beginning, the public-private partnership that seeks to advance interest in North Africa and, as I call them, deliverables on the ground, together with the broader region that's, as you know, spans